It's insubordination. Okay. Use the word so the right person finds you. We're going to find the right people. Every meeting is dramatic. You will never, ever, ever win. All right. Solo podcast time, people. All about accountability today. And I love this topic because I see the output from accountability and I get to help people through that awkward phase of accountability. But I'll tell you what, if you struggle holding your team accountable, this is the podcast for you. So in today's podcast, I'm going to go over the symptoms. Like these are the things I look for when I go into a new agency to see how we hold people accountable. And what you're going to see on Friday's podcast with the diva, Stephen Harrington, is we're going to talk about what to do about it. So if you're listening to this podcast today, check it out, but then come back Friday for the next step of what we think might be a good opportunity to really digest and grow and learn what to do about it. So I want to talk to you about the 6 things that I see. Okay. The first one is I say, okay, great. Do we have job descriptions? People are like, kinda. We have old ones. They're out of date. They're not in touch. They're definitely not accurate. And nobody knows where they are and nobody holds anybody accountable to them. So what ends up happening is we have these job descriptions that are paperweights, right? They're something we only use with a new hire to show them what we want them to do. So if you don't have job descriptions, go to our website right now and you can actually purchase our job description template pack. You'll have them. They're awesome. It'll give you started. But this is something everybody sort of expects to have, I think, with a job, but no one's going to ask you to say, well, can I see my job description unless they're in distress because they want to know why you're holding them accountable. So job descriptions are step 1. If your agency doesn't have them, they're old, they're outdated. Your first thing to make sure you have a culture of accountability is a job description. Now, step 2, clear metrics for each job description. This is a second component of everything. The metrics side of job descriptions is hard. And I'll tell you why it's hard. It's because oftentimes agencies are not in touch with their metrics. They look at their P&L and that's about it. They run their new business report. They get frustrated because it's not right. They run their cancellation report. They get frustrated because that's not right. And what I'm going to tell you is in 2023, because that's the year that we're in when this podcast launches, every agency has to embrace the idea of metrics and using your agency management system, not a side hustle spreadsheet. You are cheating on your management system, another huge expense in your agency by tracking things on a spreadsheet. The spreadsheet is wrong. Your management system is wrong. You just like the comfort. Spreadsheets light and airy and not so complicated and not so frustrating. You're cheating on your management system. The reality is you need to make your management system right. So if your agency is frustrated by reports, you have to fix that this year. You have to contact support, go to the user group, go to the meetings, get it right. A lot of times it's processes, procedures, or just lack of knowledge of how to set these reports up. But every role should have clear metrics on how we're going to track somebody. And the reason is this, is that feelings don't have brains, okay? So I feel like they're doing good. I feel like they're doing bad. That is not a way to measure someone's performance. It should be cut and dry. And a metric is something we can celebrate when we hit a good success. And we can also talk about when we don't hit good success. So you need to make sure that there are metrics associated with every role and that they are easy to get to and that somebody is in charge of running them. So a lot of times we talk about accountability. It's like, oh, we have them, but ... We haven't looked at them in forever. Okay, well, that's like saying I work out, but I don't weigh myself to see if it's working. I can tell you, I have worked out and eaten pizza. It's a wash. If not, maybe I even just made the deficit a little bit less because I do like pizza. You have to understand your metrics to say, we're trying to hit this goal. What are the alignments that we're getting? Without this, good luck. You're running it by feelings and your bank account doesn't always show you the true metrics. The next one is also metrics related, which is transparency in metrics, which means how do people see the metrics? Does the team have access to the metrics? Who's running them in the agency? How are we displaying them? Now, lo and behold, whenever I show metrics to a team the first time, they're like, is that good? Is that bad? I don't really know. Or that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. That's not right. That's what I get a lot. That's not right. And I say, okay, it's not right. So let's go back and find out why. And sometimes it's 5 reasons why. Sometimes it's 5 processes people aren't following, or some people are doing this, some people are doing this. And it takes time and patience and active patience to get them right. But without them being right, you are a captain with no map. You cannot tell if your team's doing well. You cannot tell if your team is doing poorly. So our main goal is to make sure that we all get them right. We have to embrace this. But when people start seeing the metrics, the accountability of fixing those metrics makes 10 times more sense. So that is one of the most important scenarios that we have. The next is an accountability strategy. And you're going to actually see this if you go to the blog associated with this podcast. We put our accountability strategy in there. An accountability strategy is simply kind. It says, this is what's going to happen. It helps the leadership team so much because we're not sitting there saying, well, what should we do? Should we address it? Should we not? If we address it, we got to do this, we got to do that. It says up front, before there's a problem, this is our protocol. Think of it like a law, right? You know that if you drink and drive and you get popped, this is what's going to happen to you. It's not emotional. It's just what's going to happen next. And when everybody knows what's going to happen next, having the conversations, holding people accountable becomes much better. Now, you'll see in our accountability strategy, anybody at APP, any single person can hold someone else accountable. If they have to do it again, that's when it gets a little different. So I could have my VA can hold one of our trainers accountable if they're not getting back to them. They send them an accountability alert email. And the email is formal, but it's also a template. So they can pop it in. We don't have to think too hard, overthink it. That's where people get lost. And it's just a friendly reminder. Well, by the second friendly reminder, the manager is copied on there so that way it can be addressed or just checked into a little bit more. So there's actually an accountability process under the scenes that management doesn't even know about. And I'm okay with that. And our managers go ahead and encourage people to do it. If you're having a problem with them, I encourage you to do this. So that way it stops the whole telephone game of her and she and this and that and back and forth. That's not cool either. So the next step up on the accountability chain is like it's a written warning with your manager, something serious. Like, hey, this is the third time this has happened. I've looked into it. You're in the wrong. You need to get your shit together. Pardon my French. I probably shouldn't swear it on this podcast, but I did. So I need everybody to kind of just think through that a tad bit, right? The next step I want everybody to think about on that accountability alerts are performance improvement plan. That happens with the whole leadership team. This is serious. We're at the end of the line. Now, three things happen. The person finds another job, the person changes their act, or you have to terminate them, but you have to be willing to terminate. And this is where people don't put people on PIPs. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be willing to terminate them. Why not? They're not hitting our minimum standard. They're not on track. They're causing drama to other team members. And this is where it's like, well, it's hard to find people. If I have to hear it's hard to find people in 2023 and you haven't bought our how to hire course, I'm just going to block you from social media, I think. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I got to hold myself accountable to that. But yeah, it's hard to hire people. But a lot of agencies have spent no more than 5 minutes this month trying. You put a job ad out and you think it's like 20 years ago where you're going to have all these applicants. You're not. You have to work for it. You have to network. You have to get out there, tell people you're hiring. You have to put it out in the universe every single day so the right person finds you. If you think it's easier to find somebody that wants to fly across the country, leave their family, and go help independent insurance agencies and work for me, who's kind of a ball buster, you're wrong. It's not. I have to be intentional in my hiring, but I don't give up and I don't use it as an excuse. Oh, we can't find people. No, we're going to find the right people and we're going to invite them in. And the best thing that happens is it happened 3 times this month. Somebody reaches out to me and is like, hey, I've really admired you. I'd love to work for you. Do you have any openings? Or, hey, I know we've talked about it before. I think I'm ready to make a career move. Absolutely. Let's have that conversation. Sometimes I have the opening position. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I can reorganize our plans and get that person in. I think that there's a lot of opportunity with it. Next is all carrots, no sticks. That's the biggest thing. All carrots, no sticks. So we walk into agencies and it's, we do this and we do this. We have summer Fridays and we give everybody their birthday off and we have unlimited vacation time and they just have all the things. And like people aren't hungry. People are comfortable. People are expecting all this lavish stuff. So they don't feel implied to work hard. You need to have a stick, and our stick goes into the accountability plan. When you're not in good standing because you're on an accountability plan, you don't get your bonus for the quarter. That's it. Or if you're commission, you get your commissions cut for the month. And I'm serious about that. And you know about it. So when it gets to the third level that somebody's had to remind you now the third time, you're causing pain. I'm not paying you to cause pain in my organization. You didn't earn the bonus. I don't care if you're the top salesperson, you still are causing pain and you need to address that. You can't just be one thing and not be something else. It's not an extreme situation. No routine meetings with the team, right? There's no one-on-one. So every time you have to address something, it's this big ordeal of, oh my God, I have to address it with somebody. What are we going to do? It's going to be horrible. It's going to be terrible. Call to the principal's office. We dread it. They dread it. So we just avoid it. It never happens. Well, when you have one-on-ones with the team, it's coaching, right? Hey, I saw this. What's up with this? This, we have an issue with. Let's talk about it right now. And then it's not so dramatic. But because there's no one-on-ones, every meeting is dramatic. And we're not coaching. I think a lot of agencies are lean on middle management or at least team leaders that can help them address these things. So if you're running a 20-person agency and you're the only leader, you have a problem. You cannot address 20 different things. What ends up happening is you find stuff, you put out fires, and you're constantly reactionary. You need to invest in middle management that's operating the job and doing a little bit more, if not having a lesser book of business. And the last one I think is super, super important. The agency's leadership team is not modeling accountability. They're not running the reports on time. They're not having the one on ones. They're not going ahead and holding the goals. They're not addressing poor behavior. If you don't have your management or leadership team doing that, you will never, ever, ever win. And I'm going to take this just one step further. If you are a solo owner and you are the only leader, that means you have to hold yourself accountable. That means you might be running reports at 11 o'clock at night. That means you might be doing it on a Saturday. That means if you have to hit your goal, you got to make 10 extra calls. It means you might need to get in the bullpen with people. All that you have to do is understand that your payroll is your biggest expense. And when you don't hold people accountable, they're stealing from you. But most importantly, you're allowing it because you're allowing them to steal from you. There's no protocols. It's like having a bank and having the money right there and saying, do whatever you want. There needs to be protocols in insurance. And I know accountability is hard, but you got to pick your heart. One choice is to keep going the way you're going and not have any accountability. The other choice is it gets a little harder, but at the end, you turn it over. And that's why I want to just take a second and address a couple of things that will happen. 100%, I know this to be true if you start holding people accountable. So let me walk you through some of these things. These are things that are, I swear, hand stack Bibles. If you commit to accountability for 6 months, this is what will happen. One, your top team members will love it and perform harder. Amen to that. Your bottom team members will resist it, and you have to be prepared to address it. Some of the team is going to challenge you to really see if you're going to do what you say you're going to do. They don't believe you, so they're going to try to be resistant and see if you're going to call out their bluff. And you have to know that they probably have learned this behavior from you. You've done it before, so you know what? Oh, well, if we just ignore it long enough, it'll go away. Or, well, I just sold a big policy. It'll blow over. You have taught them that, and that's where you need to change. You will have to write people up or put them on performance improvement plans. People need to know you're serious. Okay? You will lose some of your worst team members. If you go do this at 6 months and people will not like the heat in the kitchen and they will leave and it will cause you to not have to fire them. But you have to be prepared by starting to recruit and hire and get a bench now. And it is okay to be slightly overstaffed. It gives you wiggle room. It empowers you. It gives you power to make decisions. You will get stronger in your delivery and conviction to hold people accountable. What is so amazing to me when I talk to agency owners and I hear this stuff and I'm like mad for them, like I'm boiling mad for them. People who come in late, people who don't fill out paperwork, people where there's a request and there's not even a response to the agency owner. I'm like, that doesn't tick you off? They're like, well, it's a busy day. My least favorite word, B word, right? And I'm like, I can't be madder than you about this. You have let your standards go so low that it is acceptable for someone you pay to not be respectful of your time or your request. This is a respect thing. You can always raise your hand and say, I'm a little jammed up today. Can I get to you tomorrow? That's respectful. Ignoring it is insubordination. And we don't use clear and direct terms in insurance. We sugarcoat way too much, which is why I think we've been successful at APP. If you want something sugarcoated, you go get a donut. You don't really get it here. So I think it's important for you to understand that everything will happen, but don't sugarcoat it. Don't sugarcoat. It's insubordination. Use the word. Okay? Use the word. Here's the other thing too. You're going to get stronger in your delivery and conviction to hold people accountable, and you will get better at it. So if it's uncomfortable, it means it's working and you probably need to do more of it. Substandard performance will start to drive you nuts and you just won't accept any longer. When you level up yours and you're holding yourself accountable, you start holding others accountable. If you, let's just say working out, try to work out as many days as I can, a minimum of 4, gusts up to 7, sometimes twice a day. I like working out. Sometimes my schedule just makes it so it's almost impossible because I do need a certain number of hours sleep. Otherwise, things don't quite coordinate themselves correctly. But if I don't hold myself accountable and say, oh, I just got home late. Oh, I don't feel good. I don't do this. Like at the very least, I could take a half-hour walk. Like even if I don't feel good, I could just go put one foot in front of the other. I've got to walk around my house. I could just walk and just get that done. But you have to hold yourself accountable personally, professionally, all of the things to get it done. You will end with a bigger, stronger, and better team if you do this. That's what I know. I think that is something that you all have to become obsessed and passionate about, is that you will end this whole journey with a bigger, better team. So I know it's scary. I know running the reports is frustrating. You might not feel like you've got time. This is about priorities. Your payroll is your biggest expense. If you have no way to metrically manage them, it's like, okay, well, we'll just see what happens. And that doesn't work either. The other thing I'm just going to share with you is, yes, hiring is hard. I'm not trying to sugarcoat that, but I also know not a lot of people are doing enough about it. And so when I hear hiring is hard and I say, what's the 3 things you've done this month on it? Well, it's just really hard to find people. I go, that's not action. Action is I've given out 10 business cards. I've been on LinkedIn. I've contacted all of our marketing reps. That's action. You need to take massive action to fight against your biggest challenges. Otherwise, you're just going to claim defeat. Oh, we're just not going to hold people accountable because we can't find people. That's laying in the worst, lowest standard comfort zone. So get your act together this year and make sure you're saying, that's a big challenge. This is what we're going to do to pick away at it. And I'm not letting it stop us. You have to get fired up about it so that you hold yourself accountable to solving these major agency challenges. Then you'll get there. And I just want to say our agency 2-year plan or agency assessment will help you with this. This is the whole crux of it. It's remodeling your agency. It's a transformation. And then you will get us to hold you accountable, which makes all the difference in the world. So if you're interested, reach out. But hold your team accountable. Go to the blog. Listen to our podcast on Friday. Educate yourself on how you can take baby steps towards accountability. You might be surprised at the end that it's not as scary as you really think.